Hey everybody, welcome to the 5 Minute Friday episode here on YouTube and also here on the podcast if you're listening. So here on 5 Minute Friday, I kind of break down some interesting topics going on in the world of agriculture. And I wanted to cover something today that's really interesting because I actually covered it today in an episode or for a future interview. And that was foreign farmland ownership here in the US. And over the past couple of years, it's kind of exploded. And so I really wanted to do a deep dive and kind of figure out, how many countries own U.S. farmland? Is it an issue? All that good stuff. So I found some documentation that I will link below, both here on YouTube and on the podcast, so if you're listening. So here is a study done in January of this year, 2023, talking about just some statistics. So let's look at this. Basically, existing federal requirements. Current federal law imposes no restrictions on the amount of private U.S. agriculture land that can be foreign owned. So, for example, Canada can own farmland in Texas, and then that produce can be shipped back to Canada. So there's really no restrictions on it. And here is a map. Let me zoom in just a little bit. This showcases some current state laws. So there's no national laws. Here are some current state laws. Currently, expressively allows or is silent a bunch of different states, California, Texas, Florida, also, and prohibits and or restricts. So it looks like further data that I'll show you that most of these states actually restrict it instead of prohibit. Examples like Mississippi, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, the Dakotas, and a bunch of others. So those are states, that's kind of their laws, if they allow it, if they don't. So I'm scrolling down a little bit. In terms of foreign holdings of agriculture, Florida, for example, has over 500,000 acres owned by foreign countries. California, Texas, Oklahoma, these are all like juggernauts in terms of farmland in the United States. Ohio's up there, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, Montana. That's really interesting. States that have less than 100,000 are states like Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, New Jersey. Not huge states, but they still have a decent amount of farmland. And it looks like a very, very small portion has between 250,000 and 500,000. So that's a little weird. And of course, that map is of 2021. Now let's go to the foreign holdings of U.S. agriculture land report through December 31st, 2020. If you could find something more recent than this, let me know, and I'll break that down in another episode. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit to charts, because everybody loves charts, right? So again, if you're on YouTube, you can see these charts. If you are listening, I will break it down a little bit for you. So the portion, here's a chart, figure 1, portion of foreign held agricultural land to all privately held agricultural land. So Florida, 2.4% or more. Most of the South is actually 2.4% or more, and that includes other states like New Mexico, Arizona, California. So that's actually a lot of farmland. So going down more, here's that graph again, over 500,000 acres. With Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, California. That's not horrible, but that's kind of concerning because states like Florida and California, population's increasing. Well, at least it is in Florida because everybody's moving here. So more people moving here, less farmland. Also, we have less farmland that is like state and privately owned. That's a little weird. A lot more diagrams you can see here on the website, and I'm trying to find, oh my gosh, there's some more data that kind of breaks it down. Okay, so it looks like most of it from 2010 is actually like forest land. Okay, pasture land has remained the same. Cropland has jumped up from 6 million acres to over 10 million acres from 2016 to 2020, so no telling what it is now in 2023. And it looks like other ag and non-ag land is still kind of below 2 million acres. In terms of land holdings versus total land versus private and foreign, let's look at Florida. So Florida currently has 34 million acres total across the state. 21 million of that is privately held. That's great. 1 million is foreign owned. So that's like 5.8% of it is currently foreign owned. We go to states like Maine. Maine has 19 million acres. The foreign is 3.5, which makes it 19.5%. Okay. California, 2.7%. Arkansas, 4%. Kind of interesting. Going down, let's look at Texas is 3%. So again, this is all of 2020. I'm sure it's increased a decent amount since 2020. But foreign-owned land, foreign-owned ag land here in the United States is 2.9%. So of the 2 billion acres in the country, only 37 million is actually owned. Now I'm going to try to find some more data on this. So that's interesting. It looks like in 2021, the total was 3.1%. Now this might seem okay. Like it might seem like it's not that big of a deal. But the problem is that, again, on the episode today that I chatted with a farmer that knew a lot about this, states like California, where there are drought and water issues, obviously, they're growing crops there that like alfalfa, which are very high water dependent crops. Like they need a lot of water. So California obviously has a lot of water issues. So the alfalfa that countries like Saudi Arabia or China might be growing because they own that farmland, they grow it in the state and then they ship it to that country. So, okay, they're growing the farmland here because they might not have ideal farmland in those countries. But the problem is that they are using our resources in states that are already having issues with those resources. California, Nevada. And the farmer that I mentioned, his name is Michael, and he has the Dallas half-acre farm. He said that crops like alfalfa aren't even suited for those environments because obviously they need a lot of water. They're growing in them in desert environments. So clearly that's not smart for that local ecosystem, but that country is doing it because they own the farmland and they need that crop. Kind of interesting. Now, I don't know what the breakdown is of that 2.9%, where, how much of that percentage are they growing not the best crops, where they might be using a lot of our resources. I don't know. That's interesting. I think there's a lot that goes into this. Let me know what you think. If you're here on YouTube, comment below. Let me know what you think about foreign-owned farmland here in the United States. And also, if you're on the podcast, let me know on Instagram or YouTube or send me an email. Because this is an ever-evolving story. There is some legislation going across Georgia, Texas, I think slowly but surely here in the United States, maybe limiting foreign countries owning farmland. But yeah, I think this will be a really interesting developing story for a couple of years. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you want some more content like this. And of course, if you want to hear some more 5-Minute Friday stuff, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to our newsletter and the podcast. All that is linked below. So thanks so much. We're out for now. See you later.